Let's get the Buccaneers perspective. And actually, Greg has been on the show before. It was a couple years ago during the 2022 season. I was checking our timestamps. Greg is now with Fox Sports. He's covering the entire NFL. He's been on a Tampa beat, though, since 2013. So he knows this team inside and out. And he's kind enough to join us right now inside the vault on a Purple Friday here inside the vault. Greg, great to see you again. And as always, we appreciate you for carving out some time.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah. What's the state of this team? I mean, we've seen the 51 burger. We've seen that. We also understood that it was hard to understand this, but you put up 51 points with your quarterback throwing 3 interceptions, and it's kind of like mind-boggling. So just give us a sense, the state of the Bucs entering week 7.
Yeah, I mean, I think things were wobbly there in that last game. I mean, you're up 17-0, and then you blink and it's 2017 and you're down. Then they flipped a switch and kind of went to their run game and obviously pulled away to a big win. So no, I mean, I think they're tied for the division lead. They're entering this really crazy stretch where their next 4 games are 3 teams that played in the conference championship games last year. Ravens, Niners, Chiefs, and the Falcons, who are their main competition here in the South. So a really big 4 game. If they go 2-2 in those 4 games, and one of them is the Falcons, they're probably happy with that. But no, I think they're trying to find themselves. Last year they came out of the gate 3-1 and had that massive slide where they dropped 6 out of 7, and I think they're just trying to avoid that, just trying not to have such an up and down year like they had a year ago. So at home Monday night against the Ravens is probably one of the biggest challenges on their schedule. They go to Arrowhead in a couple of weeks. It's probably worse, but tough game and just a game they want to play well in, if not win.
Hey, Greg, can you take us kind of back to kind of educate us who don't follow the Bucs on a daily basis of Baker kind of taking over after the Tom Brady years? I know from the outside, it's like, well, Tom Brady's gone. They're going to have to, really struggle for a while. And the last time we saw Baker in the AFC North, obviously he was shipped off in favor of Deshaun Watson, which, I mean, Baker's got to be laughing every time he goes to sleep. But how has he been able to just keep this organization winning? And where is he today? Like this resurgence after he was written off by Cleveland.
Yeah, Baker's in a good place. I mean, to think about where things were, 14 months ago, he had bounced to 3 teams in a year. Even though he came to the Bucs on a 1-year, $4 million deal, every sense of a prove it type deal. And to his credit, I think it takes a certain kind of quarterback to take over a team from Tom Brady. He's never lacked for confidence. And I think he really, again, this is a team that embraced him. I think he won over this team for different reasons than Tom did. Tom, I think, had the resume, had the approach, had the aura of who he was. And Baker's just a kind of an everyman type who's going to hang out with the offensive linemen and the defense and try and out hustle everybody. And to his credit, again, I mean, they win a division title last year when very few people expected it. I think to be where they are now, even after Baker, Baker could have gone free agency instead of a 1-year, $4 million deal. It's 3 years and $100 million. So he's kind of reestablished himself as an NFL starter. And even with that, I don't know that they had a lot of respect nationally. I don't think there was the expectation. I think most of the odds makers and pundits probably picked the Falcons to be the team to beat. And the Falcons beat them. So far that's kind of played out. But no, I think Baker's somebody who's very motivated to, even though he's gotten this deal and kind of won over things here in Tampa, constantly motivated to want to, answer his doubters and his critics and prove people wrong. Obviously, he's played the Ravens a lot. I think he's 3-6 in his career against the Ravens. So, I mean, it's a trip back for him, back to the old division and a defense. I think there's probably a little bit of carryover from the guys that he's faced twice a year going back to like 22. Had high praise, was going through their defense on the podium yesterday, talking about they have elite level players at all 3 stages, to talk about, obviously Matabika up front, to have Roquan in the middle, to have guys like Humphrey and, the safeties they have. I think he knows this defense well. This is his first chance to go up against them with this team and the weapons he has now.
And here he is. I mean, this is a top 10 offense, as you see on the screen here, and the second ranked scoring offense in this entire league. So for the Ravens, it's been back-to-back weeks here of just high-powered offenses, and we got to see Jaden Daniels and the Commanders last weekend. But Greg, his go-to guy, Mike Evans, there's some concerns about his hamstring, at least to the point where he sat out during Wednesday's practice. So we'll kind of have to see. I mean, we get it. It's early in the Monday Night Football week, right? It's a Friday for most teams, but it's a Thursday technically today for teams that play on Monday night. And we are going to have a doubleheader, by the way, coming up on Monday.
Yeah.
But what are you hearing about Mike? Did it happen on Sunday last weekend? What's going on with Mike Evans?
Yeah, Mike has pushed through injuries this season. Like 2 weeks ago, he was listed with a knee and a calf, and then was kind of healthy the past week. I do think he hurt himself in Sunday's game. If you look at even the first play of the game, he catches a pass and is slow to get up. He's had hamstring injuries for a long time. So I think this is something where he kind of pushed through it. But if you watch Mike in that game, he kind of looked like a decoy. He looked like somebody just running routes, even on plays where like the Saints had an interception. He's chasing after defenders, but more like they dropped their wallet, not like he's trying to catch them or something like that. So again, I think Mike, they're going to be really careful with this week. To watch him today, he's just working on the side with a trainer. So he might practice tomorrow. That they know who he is. They know what he can do. So it might be that he doesn't practice at all and he still goes on Monday. I think they'll be smart with him. They're not going to run a ton of deep balls with him in that hamstring as it is, but I think they can be smart with him, kind of limit his plays. He's as good a red zone guy as there is. Kind of that's been his bread and butter with Baker, is just the short yardage, lob and fade to the corner, that kind of stuff. He can still do that. So I don't know how they'll use him. I don't think it'll be 70 snaps on Monday night, but I think they'll find a way to use him in his current state and try. I mean, his next catch is his 100th career touchdown catch. So, I mean, the chance to do that at home on Monday night in a big game against a team like Baltimore, I'm sure, means a lot to him for sure.
Greg, if you were the Ravens defense, how would you attack this Bucs offense? When I look at the Bucs offense, they just look very balanced. From the running attack to these wide receivers to Baker coming alive. So what would you, usually we're always just like stop the run and everything else can go. Is there anything beyond that, beyond the typical NFL formula? How would you attack the Bucs offense?
Yeah, it's something of a new offense. They're on their second new coordinator in 2 years. They've had 6 games now with Liam Cohen. Their run game, Bucs running game was dead last in the NFL in yards and yards per carry each of the last 2 seasons. So to have them, run for 277 as they did on Sunday is not the norm. They did that without Rachaad White, who's been their leading rusher the last 2 years. So you have 2 young backs, a rookie named Bucky Irving, a second-year guy named Sean Tucker that went off Sunday. Tucker was NFC Offensive Player of the Week after I think he had 53 yards in a season and change in his career before that game. So I'll be curious. I think you're absolutely right about offensive balance. I think they take a lot of pride in that. When they went crazy for whatever it was, 594 yards on the Saints, it was like 300 passing and 277 rushing. So, the very balance you want. Not having Evans at full go means a ton of Chris Godwin. He's top 5 in the NFL in yards, catches, and touchdowns right now. I'm sure that'll be the priority. If they realize that Mike Evans isn't full go Mike Evans, I think the next priority is containing Chris Godwin. To look at the math of it, the Ravens have the number 1 run defense in the NFL. I think they're like 29th in pass defense. So they're asking you to throw at them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Bucs are coming off a lot of confidence in the run game. They're going to try and actually win the line of scrimmage, establish the run, not let themselves be seen as one-sided or unbalanced as an offense. Baker had 3 picks last week, 2 of them on deflections, but he had 2 the entire season before that. So yeah, their bread and butter is going to be diversity, balance, a lot of pre-snap motion and misdirection. To look at what they've done, I'll be curious to see how they use those 3 backs, because Rachaad White has been the starter for 2 years until Bucky Irving got the start on Sunday. And then Bucky even kind of got overwritten by Sean Tucker, going for whatever it was 192 yards rushing and receiving. So I think they're going to have 3 backs they're trying to interchange in there. They have a pony package, they call it, where there's 2 backs in the game at the same time. They'll usually flare one out as a receiver. That's worked really well for them. And I think they'll probably have more of that, since all 3 of those are guys they're trying to get on the field. But no, they're not an easy team in terms of, if you take this guy away, you got them solved.
And shout out Sean Tucker too. That's a Calvert Hall guy. That's a Baltimore guy around these parts. So shout out him. He had a heck of a game.
We talked to
But
him yesterday. He was saying he grew up absolutely a Ravens guy, went to games. This
yeah,
will be, I think his folks back home are very much Ravens. Obviously, they're rooting for him on Monday night, but if they weren't playing the Bucs, they're wearing Ravens gear. They're pulling for the Ravens for sure.
right. Yeah, I don't know if you've been to the facility, Greg, but it's in a town called Owings Mills. That's where he was
Right.
born. So the guy was literally born right around the corner, which is
Right.
a kind of a cool story there, even though the game's being played in Tampa. And you hate to lean too much, too heavily on statistical rankings and whatnot 6 weeks into a season. But the 31st ranked pass defense that you referenced for Baltimore up against the 28th ranked pass defense for Tampa, you get the sense this might be a high scoring one. But
Right.
let's flip it from what Sarah just asked you. And when you look at what this duo has been so far through 6 weeks, it's just been lethal. Cincinnati found out the hard way about stacking the box. They did a darn good job through 4 quarters on Derrick Henry containing him, but then he rips off a 51-yard, which ended up, kind of being the game winner to put Justin Tucker in a position to win it with the chip shot. So, and then what, obviously, if you're gonna not sell out the run, you know what he's going to do to you. We've all seen that for 10 plus years in this league. What is Tampa saying defensively about game planning?
Oh, I mean, I think there's a lot of respect for the run first. I think Baltimore's won the last 5 in this series, so that they know who he is. They're getting healthy at the line of scrimmage. They win a couple games without Vita Vea. They win 5 games without Kalijah Kancey, their 2 best D linemen. They'll have them both. They're both healthy. That helps with that. I think the Todd Bowles defense has done fairly well against Derrick Henry. They've played him 3 times. I think it's like 135 yards in 3 games, under 4 yards a carry. So relatively speaking, they've kept them in check. It doesn't mean they can do that on Monday. Lamar is 3-0 against this team, has handled them pretty well. So no, I think there's absolutely a healthy respect. I got to go up to Baltimore last year for the AFC Championship game and see him in person there. Really good offense. Todd Monken's a guy who was here in Tampa. There's a lot of respect for him here. 2 years ago, I think they were trying to get Monken to be there, bring him back as the OC here, and it's something where I think he had a good situation there in Baltimore and correctly anticipated what that would be. But lots of familiar faces on both sides here. Josh Johnson, you go back a long time with Josh Johnson here in Tampa.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I think this defense is very aware of the challenge that they bring. And that definitely starts with the run. I mean, I think they're out-rushing their opponents by more than 100 yards a game. That's a really good recipe for sustained success.
Yeah, Monken's we're already hearing noise about Monken being a popular guy for maybe another head coaching candidacy. So we're trying to like succeed, but not that much, Monk. We want to keep him around as he's unlocked a lot here in Baltimore. Can you give me some context really quick? Just I haven't been able to watch him very much. Baker's interceptions, are they due to poor decision making, or is it like deflections? Like, what's the context behind his interceptions?
Yeah, only had 2 in the first 5 weeks was great, and then 3 in the first half Sunday against the Saints. One of them's on him, just a bad throw, bad read, wasn't accounting for somebody. The other 2 are deflections. One, a low pass. It almost looked like it bounced, but it was a low pass, and the receiver put his hands underneath it and let it bounce off his hands to a safety. So it's a deflection, but it's a bad pass. And then the other pass was a throw at the line of scrimmage. 1 D lineman batted it up, and Cameron Johnson intercepted it. So it's deflected by the defense.
So he's not being reckless.
Right. It kind of weird plays. They weren't just, throws directly to a defender or something like that. He's been really good in keeping his mistakes and his turnovers in check. The first 5 games, obviously 3 picks. There's not many times you're going to win a game throwing 3 picks. No, I think I believe Baltimore is much tougher with the fumbles than they are the interceptions so far this year. So that's something they have to be aware of. But Bucs, I mean, for the most part, have kept their turnovers fairly in check this season. But again, you have 3 to overcome in 1 week. It'll be a priority this week for them, not doing that again against a tougher team on Monday.
Greg, I know you got a tight window here in between practice and whatnot. So how about we get you out of here on this one matchup more so than anything else that you're looking for on Monday night? And if you are willing, a prediction.
I think it's the interior defensive line up against Baltimore's interior, the running between the tackles. If Baltimore is able to do that with consistency, it's going to be a long night for Tampa. So it starts with Vita Vea as just a big body clogging 2 gaps in the middle. Again, you don't want to say you want to force Lamar Jackson to throw the ball, but they have to be throwing more than running is what I would say is the Bucs' goal. So no, I think it starts there. I go into this thinking Baltimore probably wins a close game, 31-27, 34-31, something like that. But again, this Bucs team has surprised me in both directions already this season, so it wouldn't surprise me too much if they pulled something off.
Greg, we appreciate the time as always. You're now with Fox Sports. You can be followed on X or Twitter at Greg. Is Alman or Alman?
Alman, you got it right. You're good.
Alman. Okay, cool.
Alman, thank
Anything
you.
else that you'd like to plug before Monday night besides
No. Again, we lots of copy at Fox Sports. We just did a bunch of potential trades coming up. Power rankings. The big thing for Fox this week is Chiefs 49ers, just because the Super Bowl rematch is on Fox with Tom Brady after this game. Not after this game, sorry. Sunday at the 4:00 window. I got too many games going on in my head here. So lots about Chiefs and Niners and the Super Bowl rematch and everything there. But thank you guys again for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you, Greg.
Appreciate it, Greg. Enjoy it. Monday night should be a good one. And Greg, kind enough, Sarah, to get back with us here inside the vault. We did it in 2022, I believe, and we did it just now. So go hit him up on X or Twitter for the Buccaneers. Follow. Covers teams outside of Tampa as well for Fox Sports at Greg Amman. So, yeah. Shall we get back to press conferences?
Well, should we do our predictions real quick just to finish up the whole segment altogether?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be another, as you said, high-scoring potential shootout. It'd be nice. You just never know which version of the Ravens secondary is going to show up. I think it's very interesting what he said. Even if Mike Evans does play, it doesn't sound like he's going to be 100%. He said that oftentimes he was used last week as a decoy. That will obviously help the Ravens secondary out. John Harbaugh mentioned earlier this week that they play a lot of man coverage. They don't try to put safeties over the top to give their corners a lot of help. And so if Mike Evans is limited, I mean, somebody like Brennan Stevens or Nate Wiggins on him, that certainly will help them out. But it's still Mike Evans. You got to watch those fades, as Nate Wiggins learned this week. So I think it could be a shootout. I just don't see their defense being able to slow this Ravens offense. I mean, Bobby, we have it right here. They're ranked 26 overall in defense, 11 against the rush, and 20 against the pass. He said their defense coordinator has stopped Derrick Henry before. And we've actually heard a lot of people saying that. Well, we've had success before. Like I've had Kansas City Chiefs people tell me that about Derrick. It's like, I get it, but you haven't stopped Derrick and Lamar before. It's a different animal. So I do see the Ravens offense being able to score a ton. I think the Ravens defense is going to give up a lot of yards. If they can get a turnover, the Ravens can capitalize on it. A team like, who did they blow out last week? Was it the Saints?
New Orleans, yep.
Yeah, the Saints aren't equipped to take advantage of 3 interceptions. They're just not equipped to play well right now. They're with their backup quarterback, all that. The Ravens are able to get an interception. Then the offense is going to take advantage. So I'm taking the Ravens 34-27. I think, both will get their yards. But I think the Ravens will be able to pull ahead and keep Baker and those really tough wide receivers. Their duo might be Godwin and Evans, especially when healthy, has got to be one of the top in the league. But with Evans kind of hindered, if you can get, some sort of turnover, I think the Ravens will take advantage. So 34-27.
This is hilarious. Back-to-back weeks where I've already given my prediction on the round table.
Yeah.
And it's so similar to yours when I would typically try to differentiate, but I'm not gonna because I've already said it earlier in the week. 34-28 Ravens.
Woo,
they are just too overwhelming. Yeah, they're too overwhelming offensively. They're gonna put up more points than Tampa. Can the defense hold? Can the defense get a stop when it matters? Can they force Baker Mayfield into, like you were kind of referring to, even though it wasn't necessarily the case in New Orleans? Can you get him to cause or make a reckless decision that leads to a turnover, and can you capitalize on that? The Ravens' third down offense has been damn near unstoppable. Todd has just been cooking up all kinds of different. I think they're going to, whether they get the ball first or not, they're going to march down and put up 3 or 7. Like that's just how it goes when they are in scripted format. This is going to be an emotional roller coaster, though, for Tampa. This will be the first time they played at Raymond James since all the hurricanes just ravaged the area down there. So this will be highly emotional. It means something a little bit more, perhaps, for the Buccaneers and their fan base. So I expect the place to be rocking. By the way, Joe Flacco is going to be on the Manning cast. So this is going to be a pretty big night. Yeah.
Is Manning cast covering both games? Like, I'm wondering if Flacco will be on for the Ravens game. They would have to do that, right? Like, they'd be smart to make sure it's during the Ravens-Bucs game.
Yeah, I would assume that they won't simulcast. They won't like double simulcast Monday night games, meaning since the Chargers, I think, is the second one. Is that the second Monday night game? Don't quote me on that. But whatever the second Monday night game isn't build up to be what this one's supposed to be, which is why I think it's getting that prime time start. So I would expect that Joe is going to be with the Mannings for only the opening game. And so anyway, there's just going to be a lot of fanfare. There's going to be a lot of it's limelight, Monday Night Football. The Ravens always rise to the occasion more often than not in primetime settings. I know this one is away from Baltimore, where they've been utterly dominant under John Harbaugh in primetime games. But this offense is just, I think it would just be unwise of either one of us right now to pick against this team with the way that they're cooking. And that's not to say that
doing that.
Right. I was going to say, it's not to say that this defense isn't and won't be susceptible to the gunslinger that is Baker Mayfield. I expect him to put up points, which is why I'm going 34-28 Ravens.
The other game is Chargers-Cardinals, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's a 6 o'clock local time start. That's crazy. They got it like overlapped there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is definitely Ravens-Bucs is way more exciting than Chargers and Cardinals. They're both Cardinals 2-4, Chargers 3-2.